Are you a Jesus-loving woman who overexercises and deprives herself of food, desperately trying to obtain a goal weight on the scale? And yet, at the same time, you strive to be a healthy version of yourself by eating well and feeling fit? Hi, I'm Andrea, and I was running on the same hamster wheel for over 20 years. My toxic body image and eating disorder stole my joy and self-respect. Thankfully, God was always with me, fighting my battles and blessing me with the grit to reclaim my life. I'm off the hamster wheel, but I see you still stuck in the cage, and I want to help free you too. Journey with me every week. I'll share personal stories, tools, mindset shifts, and the practical steps I took to heal my unhealthy relationship with food and exercise. I don't believe food and exercise are the problems. I believe they're part of the solution. Instead, I'll teach you how your mindset and faith are the keys to healing. Get ready to navigate your newfound path to healing. Get ready to reclaim your self-worth. Get ready to realign with your God-given identity. For in this identity is where you find true wellness and healing. When you are well, your gifts shine into the world. Shine on, babe. Let's do this. I'm Andrea Carroll, and this is Good Vanilla. Hey, pretty peeps. I'm quickly popping in here before we get rolling to communicate that I am not giving medical advice. I'm giving energetic, emotional, and mental support for women on their health journeys. I'm here because I care. I hope sharing my story will in some way help you on your unique path. Okay, let's dive in. Hey everyone! Thank you for coming to hang out with me today on the Good Vanilla podcast. I am so happy to have you here. Today I am going to I kind of had a mini series going here around triggers, and I am finishing up that segment with today's episode. So if you have not yet listened to episodes 5, 6, and 7, those will be very beneficial for you to hear before you listen to this episode, because these last 4 episodes have really just kind of built on each other. Triggers are something that I think are kind of complex, and there's a lot of things to pick apart on triggers, and I've kind of been covering different portions of that over this last month. And today I'm going to finish out with specifically how I have reframed a trigger moment for me. I have shared about when I was 17 years old, my dad had a massive heart attack, and I've shared a lot about that story on here. If you don't know much about it, just really quick, I was at home when my dad had his heart attack, and I was standing out by the street waiting for the emergency response team to arrive, waiting for the ambulance. And as I stood there waiting, I could hear sirens, and there would be times when it sounded like they were getting closer, and then all of a sudden it seemed like they were farther away, and it was really an anxious, very, very anxious moment, because I knew my dad was in desperate trouble. He was really needing help, and we were just relying on help to come. And I wanted them to come so soon and so fast. And first the police car came, and then the fire truck came, and then the ambulance came. But as I was standing there listening and waiting, the sirens, the sirens became that stimulus. The sound of the siren became the stimulus that my brain logged and as something important in that traumatic event. And for years afterward, every time I would hear a siren, it was like I time traveled. It's like I fell into a portal, and I would be instantly back in that moment standing and waiting for help. And I don't know about you guys. I'm from a relatively small town comparatively probably to most of you, but there are a lot of sirens. And each time these sirens would be blaring, it didn't matter where I was. So I could be driving in a car, I could be sitting in my house, I could be in the backyard, I could be doing something really super duper fun, and instant just plummet. Like my mood would just plummet, and I would get so sad, and I would think about that day, and I would think about my dad's heart attack, and then all the things that came after it, because it was so hard. It was so hard to see him go through that, and all the things afterwards, health wise, that it took a few years to work out. But anyway, I knew that something needed to change. I knew that I couldn't keep going through day to day and have these sirens triggering me to that moment. What I chose to do is say a prayer. That is what I chose to do. I don't know I don't know the day this dawned on me to do this, but after so many years of hearing sirens and reliving that day, I said, that is enough. I am tired of this emotional roller coaster. When I hear a siren, I'm going to say a prayer. I say a prayer, and it's something very simple. I just say, God help them. God help the emergency responders, and God help whoever they are going to save or assist. Sometimes just God help them. Because I know, I fully understand the magnitude of what is all wrapped up in the sound of that siren. Like, so many things could be going, and I don't even want my brain to go there, because I get so sensitive to it, and then that's another roller coaster you don't want to go on. But I say a prayer. So I can honestly say, 99% of the time, when I hear a siren, I don't think of that day anymore. I'm not transported back to that moment in time. I now say that prayer, God help them. And I just kind of take a moment of stillness and just kind of really try to project that energy and that prayer outward. It's almost like I visualize it going out from my body and meeting up with those emergency responders. And it's almost like I visualize the prayer kind of like encompassing them and joining them and helping them. It did take me a while to get to that point, though. So how could you do this for yourself? That is the question I'm asking. How could you take a moment, a traumatic event, and how could you reframe it for yourself? Now, one of the main keys to this is positivity breeds positivity. So you want to get really good at spinning alternatives and like really brainstorming different ways you could view the traumatic event. And so with the siren, it was like, okay, well, I was so grateful, so appreciative of those responders that day. And I know that God was working through them. And actually, we were told later that day by, I don't know if it was the emergency room doctor or like someone in the hospital actually said, that EMT team today, that was the hospital's top rated EMT team. Just so happened that was the team that came and saved my dad's life. So if that isn't God stepping in, I don't know what is. So I knew that I could choose gratitude and just view it as a sign of hope. The siren is a sign of hope, that help is on its way. It will get to you. It really just comes down to choosing to be happy. It's like I said, positivity breeds positivity. So just start spinning happy alternatives, brainstorm happy ideas. Just get that rolling. Another thing too is view your experience objectively to possibly identify a potential way that you could reframe it. And that's something that you would have to do after much time has passed. And that is probably how I ended up carrying out mine. How it was possible that I could reframe the siren into something positive is because I had so much time and there were so many years, and then that space allowed me to view it objectively. And so then all of a sudden I could just see it as, oh, it's not just that moment. These firefighters, these EMTs, these police officers, they're always here, they're always serving, they're always here to protect, and that is amazing, and I am so grateful for them. And I really think then it was just almost like a praise, thank you, God, thank you for these people that can do these things, right? I mean, because I think I would just lock up if I had to do the things that they do. So it kind of came from that. I had that space, which allowed me to have that objectivity, which it was almost like then that gratitude. And I was able to say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for these people. Thank you for those people that saved my dad's life. And from there, then the next natural thing was for me to pray that they could do that for someone else. So it's an opportunity. So now the siren is an opportunity for me to say a prayer for someone else, for someone else's dad, for someone else's grandma, for someone else's brother, for their child, for whoever it may be on the receiving end, wherever those emergency response people are rushing to, whoever they are going to. I say a prayer, please God, help them. And it just more positive, and it just feels better. And it's lovely not being so vulnerable to a particular trigger. Friend, this is what I wish for you. I wish that you can take some trigger, some traumatic experience in your life, and if you could start just looking at it in a different light, looking at the detail, because remember how we talked about in the previous episodes about the details of that moment. Your brain ingrains it, commits the details of that moment, the stimuli, it commits it to your memory. And if you can connect the details and start to understand how all of it affects one another, how it affects you, then you can look at it and kind of pick it apart, just like I did with the siren. Okay? The traumatic event was my dad's heart attack. But this siren, I noticed the siren was a major trigger for me transported me back to that time, to that actual event. And once I could identify that, and I had the time and space, I could start working at reframing it. How can I reframe the sound of a siren into something more positive? So truly, I pray for you that this is something you can start doing with. Pick something that feels not so monumental, something so big that you start with something that would feel like you could get a win from it, and ask God for help with this. Pray and ask about it, because He will show you. He really will. That is kind of how I got to my reframing, is having a conversation with God. And it led to the prayer. It went from the thankfulness, thanking God, to realizing I will be praying for these people when I hear a siren. I will say a prayer to God. Help them. And that's what I pray God does for you, friends. I pray that He helps you. Ask Him to show you the way, and He will. He will not only show you the way, He will hold your hand and walk you down that path. When God is in your healing, when God is in your day-to-day, you are never alone. And as always, if you ever need to reach out to talk to someone, seek that professional help. Seek that support. And as always, I am here to support you. If you want to chat, if you need someone to listen, I am here to listen. Okay? You have a great day, friend. I cannot wait to talk to you next week. Bye. Psst. Hey girl, I gotta tell you something. Did you know your eating disorder is keeping secrets from you? Yeah, it's a total butthead. But don't worry, I'm here for you. In fact, I created a freebie for you to download. It's the 4 secrets your eating disorder doesn't want you to know. And these are 4 things that I wish I would have known years ago, back when I felt like I just could not get my head above the water, no matter how hard I tried. I felt like wave after wave was crashing on me. These are the secrets that have really set me free, knowing these truths about myself. And they are things your eating disorder is trying to keep from you so it can keep control over you. Don't stay in the dark, friend. The link is in the show notes. Go download it now. Go download it now and start working through it and feel yourself free. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. If this episode resonated with you or helped you in any way, please tell me how. Email me at hello@andreacaro.com. That's HELLO@ANDREACAROW.com. Also, if there's a specific topic around eating disorders and body image you'd like to hear an episode on, let me know. Your voice deserves to be heard, and I'm here to listen. If you'd like to hear more from me, follow me on Instagram at Andrea_Caro. Friend, please help others like you by sharing this episode and leaving me a review on Apple Podcast. Doing so will help me reach others who so desperately need this message of hope. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.